Hey everybody, I'm Captain Tommy Scoville and you were on the lifeboat. Darn it. Sorry about that. That was the powerfully professional, wasn't it? Yeah, well, you know how we do it. All right, good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. This one's not going to be a long one, but man, you know, people, I do the show prep, and it takes up a chunk of every day where I go and I look at news. And you look at smuggling and you look at drug busts and you look at, you know, anything that's going to be right in line with what we talk about on the lifeboat, because this is what we do. And we keep an eye on that. Well, there's this new report that the Cato Institute, there's a bunch of different think tanks that all had a hand in coming up with this. And this is cutting edge stuff, people. This is cutting edge stuff. And they're making it a political issue between the right and the left, with one side yelling that this has nothing to do with anybody on the other side of the border, that all of these smugglers are U.S. citizens. And the truth of the matter is better than 70% of all of the people who are smuggling drugs. And how do we know this? Only by the ones that get caught, right? Obviously, there's no other way to know. But of the ones that get caught, about 70 and change, I think it's 74 or 75% of the people that get busted are United States citizens. If this comes as a shock to the people at the Cato Institute, or if this comes as a shock to the clowns, the ass clowns who run the alphabet agencies that are supposed to be protecting us from drugs coming across the border, if this is a shock to them, we're in trouble. It has always been like this. When the drugs that were getting smuggled across the border were, you know, cocaine and heroin, it was white guys that were driving those loads across the border. And there's a reason for that. And it should be really freaking obvious. I shouldn't have to even break this thing down for anybody, right? This is just really obvious. Okay, so if you're going across the border and you're going through a checkpoint like the one that they've got in Tijuana, where 6 million vehicles are going to cross in a day, wrap your dome around that, right? This is a pretty busy border crossing. So in fact, it is the busiest border crossing on the planet, on planet Earth. It is the biggest and the gnarliest border crossing anywhere. So what they want is they want people waved through as fast as possible, right? And there were old tricks back in the day that people used to do. Bring a dog with you because they don't want to put you over and then bring a drug sniffing dog up to your car if you already have a dog. So that was a trick back in the day. And usually what will happen is when the cop comes up to the door and goes, "Hey, is that your dog?" Yeah, it's my dog. "What's your dog's name?" And they want to see if that dog responds in any way when it hears its name. They want to know if this person borrowed the dog for the day or if there's a relationship between the two. But silly things like that was a big one. So right now they're saying that this is a brand new, air quotes, brand new type of drug smuggler. And there's nothing brand new about this at all. The cartels are really good at this. They find people that are desperate, that are at the end of their rope. And it's not a difficult thing to do because, you know, every morning guys and gals get into the cars of these drug dealers and, you know, beg for a bag on front because they have no money, or offer up sexual favors or any of the other things that people do in order to get that fix. And then that's when they get approached. "Hey, tell you what, I got a way you can do dope free for the next 2 months, and we'll give you $1,000 in cash. You come across the border with me, we'll set you up in a car. It's a really good looking automobile. It's brand new. You just get behind the wheel. You drive through the border crossing and you're good to go." And this is the reason that 77% of the people who are smuggling drugs and getting caught are American citizens. They're strung out. They are. It's how these people get recruited. They look for people that haven't hit rock bottom, but are running out of money. They want people that look like they're upper middle class. They target women in particular because when you assume drug smuggler, you don't think mother or housewife, right? You tend to think about guys doing it. So it tends to be one of those things that they target women if at all possible. But the fact that they find this to be new news to me is absolutely amazing. I have a ton of friends that ran loads of dope from Mexico to the United States. I did one once, just once. And I was part of there was a team, and the way that we were doing it was very, very organized. The gentleman that they had a decoy. They had a truck that was going to drive across the border, and somebody had taken, this was a brand new Chevy Silverado pickup, and they had taken a drill and they had stripped out the screws on the dash, so that it was very obvious that somebody had been using the screws that were on the dashboard. And the individual that was driving this truck, he went to a bar, did 3 or 4 shots of tequila, got himself stinky, right? Spilled a little down the front of his shirt, whatever. And then on the way to the border crossing, smoked a great big fatty and, hotboxed it, did it in the car with the windows up. And right as he got to the border, he looked like the vehicle from Cheech and Chong. Now, they're not stupid. They probably have a pretty good idea that this guy is a decoy and that his job is basically to occupy the time of at least one bay, maybe 2, as they take his truck apart looking for drugs. And while they're doing that, the main load comes through. And sometimes they'll use 2 or 3 decoy vehicles. In the same crew, they also had what they called bumpers. So if it got to a point, like if the police went to pull over the car that had all of the dope in it, and you're talking about a car that's got 200 or 300 pounds of heroin in it, what that was worth on the streets at the time, they had a guy that would cause an accident. If the cops put the lights on to pull over the drug car, then there were other vehicles that were designed to get into a car wreck when that happened, so that they would be occupied. Their time would be occupied with the people that created the crash. And I promise you that they're very, very good at this. One of the other things that came out in the report is that the vast majority of dope that gets smuggled into this country gets smuggled through ports of entry. And they reached this conclusion based on the fact that they have caught people at the ports of entry. The vast majority of dope that they catch are people that are driving straight through the ports of entry. They're not, you hear about the bus where they find, 400,000 pills, and those busts happen and they're a big deal. But the vast majority of them are 5 kilos or below. And the vast majority of the 5 kilos and below busts happen with these kind of mules. People who get recruited into this business because they have a vicious drug problem. And it sounds like answered prayer. When I was deep diving on this, I read the story of a woman from right here in Tucson, Arizona. Tucson, Arizona led the country in the amount of fentanyl that came across the Nogales border crossing right there. And it was over 10,000 pounds, I believe, just at that crossing, which made it the largest of all of the seizures. Anywhere in on the southern border for the entire year is right here. But honestly, people, it's smoke and mirrors. Don't let them distract you. All the BS about, all of the drugs that are coming through the ports of entry. There's no reason for us to worry about fencing this or guarding it or doing anything else, because all of the dope comes through the ports of entry. By their own admission, 500,000 people, right, got away that nobody touched in a 2-month period of time. These people got into our country. Nobody laid a hand on them. For all we know, every single one had a backpack full of fentanyl. It's pretty naive to assume that just because the majority of the dope gets caught at the border crossing doesn't mean that that's where the majority of the dope is coming in. I'm sure a lot of it is, right? Paved roads make smuggling an easier thing to do. And the big, large smuggling operations are probably going through those. But there are a lot of people. I think you have to really get a handle on just how small an amount of this drug that you could smuggle and make it very financially advantageous. I'm not trying to gross anybody out or bum anybody out, but this is a conversation that just kind of needs to happen. So these pills that people can buy on the other side of the border for pennies, literally. Like you get down into Mexico and buying one of these pressed pills, you're probably getting 3 or 4 of them for $1, right? You're literally getting down into the pennies. And if you smuggle that back across the border and you bring it to the right part of the US, you might still be able to get $20 a piece for those. So that kind of profit margin makes people do stupid things. But if you think about the size of a Percocet, right? So you're looking at about the tip of your pinky finger, right? We're not talking very large. It's slightly bigger than a pencil eraser as far as how big it is around. And as far as the height goes, it's probably a little bit not quite as tall as that pencil eraser would be as well, right? So we're not talking about big. But if you take a condom and you pack one of those completely full of pills and you double bag it or whatever and you hoop it, right? You put it in the prison locker, right? Backside. A lot of dope is coming across the border in just really small little, a person that's got a really bad drug problem goes across the border and shoves 500 to 1,000 pills in their rectum. Damn near killed them. But that one never gets old. And then they secret it inside their body, or worse, they swallow them. And that's something that people do. They will double and triple bag this stuff with condoms around the outside. And then they swallow, buttloads of them. They'll swallow 20 or 30 packages, right, of these pills, and then they pass them out. It's frightening to me, the idea of having that much fentanyl inside your stomach. If anything goes wrong, if one of those bags ruptures, if it's just, the risk is just so freaking unbelievable. But again, to the cartels, who cares? Right? All of these people are just, in their mind, these are worthless piece of crap slaves. I spent a lot of time with people that sold this stuff, and I understand where they're coming from. I can see where it would be very difficult to not hate an opiate addict that calls you on the phone every day and never has the right amount of money and is always $6 shy or $7 shy, calls every other day and says, I don't have any money, but can you bring me something anyway? I can understand why they hate the end user. I really do. It makes sense to me, but they did. They hated us. And we would sit in parking lots and wait on them. And, Christmas Day, you're waiting for someone that's taking 2 hours to get to you, so that you can get a shot so you're not sick and then go home to your family. It was an awful life, people. It was a terrible existence. But please don't be fooled by any of the stuff that you read in the papers. Please realize that we've reached a day and age, and I don't care if you're a Republican or a Democrat. We've reached a day and age in this country where I don't care if you're watching Fox News or if you're watching CNN, you're getting BS'd no matter which channel you're on, right? That's just the way it is right now. Everyone has an agenda. Fox wants to push their agenda. CNBC and all of those want to push their agenda. We've gotten to the point where just please don't get fooled. When you read these articles, read between the lines. Take a little time to look at them. Are you surprised that 74% of people smuggling drugs into the U.S. are U.S. citizens? I don't know why that would surprise anybody. I don't know why that would surprise anybody. If you were the cartels, who would you be using to smuggle that stuff across the border? They have an army of slaves ready to volunteer. Think about it. They have an army of slaves ready to volunteer. This may, not make sense to everybody, but there are people on the boat that this is going to make a lot of sense to. If they make that offer to you, you think you won the lottery. If they say, hey, you know what, do you want to just drive a vehicle across the border? You will think you won the lottery, and you will go and risk your freedom and your family and all of the things that matter to you. You'll get in that car and you'll drive that crap across the border, because the idea of not getting sick and not having to worry about anything for 2 months, having all of your bills paid, that's far too enticing for the average addict to not jump on with both feet. Especially if you're out of money, if you're boosting, or your significant other is talking about selling herself. I can't begin to tell you the desperation that addiction especially needle use. Opiate addiction will bring you down really, really quickly, and it will bring you to a place where, I watched people that I knew really, really well who were basically middle-class housewives that found themselves addicted to prescription pain pills, and then found themselves on the street, buying heroin because the pain pills, they couldn't get them anymore. Then, the doctors stopped writing prescriptions. There was a really big change in the entire policies nationwide. And you'd see these girls selling themselves. And you would know because they would get in the car to pick something up in the morning, and you're waiting. You're the next person in line. And if that transaction takes 15 minutes, there's a reason for that. In 15 minutes, they would have served 25 people. It's a sad, sad world that the people trapped in this find themselves in. Let's be really nice to the people that come onto the deck of the lifeboat. Let's double down. Let's make a concentrated effort to just be kinder, gentler, and spread a little bit more love. Because I'll tell you something, people, the poison that a lot of lifeboaters are addicted to. Over the course of the weekend, I probably talked to 6 or 8 people who are addicted to fentanyl, who know they're addicted to fentanyl, and are just in the throes of this and can't bring themselves to quit. It's frightening, people. It really is. So I wanted to come on and talk about this new breed of smuggler. If you're dumb enough to believe, they've already made a movie about people. Right? Didn't Clint Eastwood play the old man that was, working for the cartels, going down and muling dope? I mean, that's, there's nothing new about this. This has been going on since they first realized that the drug was worth more money on this side of the border than it was on that side of the border. Since that day, it's been American citizens smuggling drugs across the border because they don't look the type. Right? If you're a customs agent and there's a U.S. citizen coming into the U.S., you're less likely to think that something nefarious might be going on than if the person that's coming in has darker skin. I'm not being racist. I'm just telling you a stone cold fact. And that is why they do not like, they want white people behind the wheels of those cars. And I've talked many times about how those white people get burned. You think you're driving a load of cannabis across the you're driving through a field with 2,000 pounds of pot in the bed of the truck you're driving. If you get caught with that, you're going to do 3 or 4 years in prison. That may come as a shock to some of you because it's a lot of, but they don't care about weed. I mean, you literally could get caught with 2 or 3 tons, and you could still do less than 4 years in prison. But if when they were bricking up that weed, they bricked up a little bit of fent in a couple of them to help smuggle it across the border. That happens all the time. And if they get caught, all of a sudden now they're facing way more time. And they had no idea. They thought they were just smuggling, bales of weed. Hold on one second, people. Bear with me. A little bit of patience with me. Cody English, long time no see. Well, I pray that I pray for the group every day. Glad that you're praying for them too. I feel for people who got screwed by doctors and loaded up with bloody oxys way too much for ages and then cut them off. Well, the real two, I was on 12 OxyContin 80s a day from a doctor. 12 oxys a day, the 80 milligram ones. That was in the 90s. And I went to a pain specialty clinic in Utah. And there were other drugs on top of it. Honestly, I think I had 3 or 4 prescriptions a month. But that was one of the big ones, was my 12 OxyContin 80s a day. And then one day the insurance company just said, we're not paying for this anymore. Stuff's way too expensive. You're screwed. It's over. That's it. Just like that. ZW says, I love you all so much. Prayers to all that want and need them. And thank you all for being here for each other. ZW, say the same thing. So glad that you're here. I just made a comment that we can go to UKR and kill Russians, but we can't defend our borders from illegal immigrants and drug smuggling. And now we have armed individuals invading. We have a poison coming across the southern border that is killing more people than anything else in America, including cancer. The number one cause of death in our country is overdose from fentanyl. It's an uncomfortable subject. That's the world we live in today. Right? Everybody wants to brag that they never bring up politics. I can't do this show and not talk about what's happening at the southern border. And I'm sorry about that. But I'm telling you the gospel truth. The first of the political parties that comes out with a logical idea, not just, well, we're going to tighten it up so that things don't get, that's not an idea. That's not an idea. That's a platitude. Right? What we're going to do is we're going to put an extra 2,000 agents on the border, right? We're going to station them X distance apart. We're going to get 15 more drones that we're going to put into the air so that we always have more surveillance. That's the kind of crap I want to hear. I'd like to hear one party come out and say, here's the idea of how we're going to stop fentanyl killing more Americans than anything else. And I'm telling you right now, people, when the new numbers come out, the 23 numbers come out, it's going to be staggering. And I think they're going to fudge them. I think they're going to do everything within their power to play with these numbers. But it's still going to be huge. It's going to be so big, it's going to frighten us. And I wish I was wrong. I've said this so many times when we make predictions here on the boat. I wish I was wrong. I don't take any joy at all in this, but that is what's going to happen. I can promise you. Hello, Sharon. Good to see you. I'm glad that you're here. Hello, Goldie. Glad that you're here. Wolf. Big pharma is big money, and that's awful. They would do that. Big pharma is frightening. Cody English says legalize it. You people know how I feel about legalization. I want to hear the plan. Because the devil is in the details with legalization, because all of a sudden what we're going to have to do is allow the federal government to make all of the decisions about how all of that gets regulated, and they've never done anything right. Look at how well they run the post office. It does exactly what UPS and FedEx do, but it loses $5 billion a year while FedEx and UPS make money. What's the difference? Right? They do the same thing in the same way. Why is one profitable or too profitable and one just abysmally failing? And it's because we let the United States government deal with it. Who is the largest supplier of this drug? Well, the largest supplier of this drug would be China. China is sending over all of the precursors so that they can make so that they can make, lost my train of thought. I got a text from my doctor. I shouldn't have read it, but I saw a text come in. The largest supplier is the Chinese Communist Party. They send over the chemicals, the raw chemicals needed to make fentanyl and to make xylazine. And it's a great point. She says my point exactly. Absolutely a fantastic point. And they're working hand in hand with the cartels. And the cartels are using all that money to buy weapons, to buy boats, to buy planes. Like, they're putting together an army. That's no joke. Like the amount of hardware that they're never going to get to a point where they can take on the U.S., the United States Army. But we got enough people that want to take on the U.S. Army. We're in a world of hurt. And I see a lot of ugly coming this way. I really do. And I don't see a lot of politicians that are as mad about this as I am or as you are. I'm not happy that everyone I know is dead. I'm not happy that, that this crap is allowed to happen. It doesn't need to. It doesn't need to happen. It just doesn't. This is stoppable. It really is. Not all the way, obviously, but we sure as hell could choke the supply that's coming in here. And I love it when people say to me, well, how would you do it? I would make an effort. we'd actually try to stop it from coming in. That would be a good start. If we were to just say, we're really going to actually try to stop this crap from coming across the border, because currently we're not saying that. Currently we're allowing this. What's your thought on medical? What's your thought on medical dope? Clinics like one of European countries does so get clean. They're getting it for free as long as they attend programs. That's to get them factory work. Medical dope, it depends, again, on how the program's put together. Wolf says they decriminalized heroin and meth in Oregon, and now it's quickly destroying our state. Look at Portland. It's like a third world country. Yes, I agree with you 100%. And this is the reason that I say whenever we talk about legalization, I want to see the plan before they roll out a plan to decriminalize or to legalize. Because if you don't have a plan, then what happens is what's happening in Portland. One of the other things that's really a problem up there is that they go and they erect tents and leave them open in hopes of enticing homeless people into moving into them. And they're doing it because they're trying to get them to move into specific areas or specific places. But it is now a tourist destination for homeless people. Right? If you're in Chicago and you've been arrested 3 or 4 times, and if you go to the police and say, will you guys buy me a bus ticket to Portland? They will. And that's happening. People from all over the world are going there because they figure the drugs are legal, and there's a big homeless population. Jonathan O'Neill, hello from Louisiana. New subscriber, found the channel through Chase the Heat. I've heard of them. This Chase the Heat people. Be my older brother Johnny. I'm a big fan of Louisiana. I used to go often to New Orleans, and I love it. One of my favorite places on earth. So yeah, the legal issue is it's really hard. You have to have a damn plan, and you have to have a good plan. You have to have a good plan in place for how you're going to do this. I think sometimes we lose sight of the fact that, so what do? Do you throw a switch? Do we say tomorrow, all right, everything is legal? All right, what happens with dope dealers? How do we deal with them? Now that it's legal, are we going to allow anybody that wants to sell it? And who regulates it? Who makes sure that the stuff that is being sold isn't poison? There's got to be like an FDA or a like a Food and Drug Administration or something like that. Center for Disease Control. Who's going to, and all of these questions have to be answered before you come up with an idea like, let's decriminalize or let's legalize. And I don't think Oregon's rollout of any of that was particularly well done. In fact, people now use it as an example worldwide as to how not to decriminalize the substance. The thing in Oregon is, if they catch you with drugs or whatever, there's you get a ticket of some kind written to you that doesn't cost you anything or anything else, but you're supposed to appear, and they're supposed to talk to you when you appear, like they do in other countries, about whether or not you might have a problem. Again, you're not going to get in any trouble, but 6 people or something have availed themselves of showing up there and asking for help. Their program is awful. Back in the 90s, I used to go to Portland to visit friends. It was a bustling, beautiful city. Now it's a hollowed out shell. And that's the truth. Wolf nailed that. It is really, really not what it was. They've destroyed it. And and it hasn't even hit rock bottom. It's continuing to get worse. The crime is continuing to get worse. The people stealing cars, it's now the car theft capital of the US. There are these impromptu chop shops that pop up in the woods, and people just steal cars and take them there and cut them up. And, once they've filled, the field or the woods or whatever with crap, they'll go find a new place to do it. I did a real deep dive on Oregon and what their program has done, and it has not worked very well at all. Okay. All right, peeps. On that note, I just wanted to come on here because this is going to be in the news, and it's going to be in the news a lot for the next couple of days. And they're going to be talking about how it's Americans that are smuggling dope, and that, the cartels aren't even the ones doing it. It's all these American citizens. People don't fall for any of this crap. Don't fall for any of the propaganda and any of the BS. Of course, it's American citizens, right? Being taken advantage of by cartels, people who are literally such slaves to this drug that they're willing to risk their freedom to drive this stuff across the border. More than likely, they're a housewife, and more than likely, they were molested before they drove across the border, because that's the lifestyle that these people end up falling into, right? The person who knows that this woman is willing to risk her life to drive this across the border, he'll have fun before he sends her that way, because he can. And it's that kind of sick crap that is the world that so many addicts are living in right now. And we got to do everything within our power to try to save these people. For real. There's not a lot of help coming from other places. So if it's going to be, it's going to be about us. Uninformed about Fent details till the boat. First aware when Prince died. Yeah, right. Local rocker for me. Always thought it was liquid drug and IVs for surgery. 300 a day. National shame. Thought I was informed. Well, the reason that it's not your fault. They're doing everything they can to keep this out of the press. And even when it's in the press, it's out of the press. They're not really trying to let these numbers get out. And I've said this before, the Democrats all voted to put up a wall. Barack Obama stood on the floor of the Senate and talked about how important it was to have a wall on our southern border. The only reason they changed their mind is because it became a Republican thing. And we have to get to a point in this country where the lives of our brothers and sisters are more valuable than scoring political points. I'm tired of the Republican Party. I'm tired of the Democrat Party. I'm tired of all of it. We got to do something to stop these drugs from coming into our country and killing innocent people. If it was just killing people who had a habit like I used to have, if it was killing people that were doing 6 grams a day, you know what? I don't want anybody to die, but we have led ourselves into a really bad place if we're going down that road. But sadly, when you're pressing them into pills and you're representing those pills as a safe alternative to other drugs, right? This is just a Percocet, or this is just a Percodan, or whatever. This is just some Adderall. All of these pills are counterfeit. So often these deaths are youngsters who might be trying this for the very first time. That's the reality. It's not thinning the herd of a bunch of junkies. It's killing people who experiment with drugs. And in some cases, those people have had habits for a long time. And in some cases, those people don't have habits at all. But please, people, don't get fooled. And any chance you got to say something to somebody, please do. Right? Talk to relatives, do whatever you can do. But that's all we got. That's literally all we got. I missed the PCN. I don't know what the PCN is. Sorry. I am in Kentuckiana. Kentuckiana. Well, of course. Everybody knows Kentuckiana. Hello, Marie Baxter. Hello from Blackpool, UK, Great Britain. My first time here. Well, welcome to the Lifeboat. We are glad that you're here. I always like it when we get somebody from the other side of the pond. Anik says, Pacific Northwest. Gotcha. I should have known that. I really should have. I had Fent patches for my nerve diseases. They never stayed me. You know what? If you take them the way that they're supposed to be taken, they very rarely do much for you. Most people cut them up into squares and chew them. And that has a much stronger effect because you're taking the drug that is supposed to be stretched out over the course of several days and you're releasing it into the system all at once. Very similar to peeling the outside off of an Oxy 80 and either snorting it or smoking it back when that was possible. Of course, they changed the formula so that isn't something that can happen. It is definitely too hot out there, Mr. Ray Ray. It's like it's over 105 already, and it's every bit of it. All right, people, that's it. I'm done. I will be seeing all of you at 5 o'clock tonight. I saw that seagull, and it does look like a scam, and you see these horrific, like, black things that are all supposed to be coming out of the bottom of their feet. I don't know, man. Maybe it's real. Everyone have a lovely day. Likely we'll see you on AA Ron's channel later, says Goldie. Yes, I hope so. I like it when he does it. Found you from AA Ron, growing up in Scientology. Well, I'm glad that you did. Hope you give us a chance and come back and catch a full live feed. The crew here is fantastic. Wolf, I'm glad you're here. It was good to see you. All right, all. Talk to you all in the next one. I'm Captain Tommy Scoville, and this was the Lifeboat. See you, bye.